everyone, I'm Carly Biron here today with an episode of the EchoStor Healthcare Heartbeat. I'm here today with Mike Hale and Tanner Crowe, who are two members of EchoStor's dedicated healthcare practice. Mike is a principal solutions engineer with over 15 years in healthcare technology executive leadership, and Tanner is a solutions engineer with a decade of experience in healthcare IT architecture, administration, and support. Today's topic is Epic capacity assessments. With many of our healthcare customers running the Epic platform as their electronic medical record systems, capacity assessments are something that many of them are familiar with. Mike, give us an overview of these assessments and how they impact healthcare organizations.
Thanks, Carly. As you said, capacity assessments are really their hardware configuration guides that Epic provides around hardware specifications and the resources needed to run your Epic environment. They provide them periodically, usually on an annual basis or as needed. It usually provides about a 2-year look ahead as far as projections of your resource and growth needs. And interpreting these reports and anticipating those needs, really challenging for healthcare organizations. They're based on planned expansions, think about new application rollouts and Epic upgrades that require seemingly ever-increasing levels of resources. And trying to determine lifecycle needs and spend and timing, all of that come together to make things extremely challenging and require a lot of expertise and really thought. Tanner, why don't you tell us about your firsthand experience working with these Epic capacity assessments?
Sure. So like you said, you get this report usually annually, and sometimes it can be pretty shocking as what you're going to end up needing into the future. This is where a good partner like EchoStor is going to be able to help you. As you're reading through your capacity assessment, we really need to figure out how are you going to be able to maintain, grow, and scale within those prescribed constraints that Epic has provided you within this capacity assessment. And going through this for all your different platforms in Epic, whether that be ODB, Cogito, Caboodle, your delivery method VDI, or through virtual application, and into other pieces like your web layer and in back end of WebBlob. So there's a lot of things to consider with this. We look at things like processor families, what you're going to be able to do for session density when it comes to VDI. Looking at your storage footprint for some of your bigger SAN systems servicing those back-end databases. Trying to figure out what's going to be the best for you, whether you're going to expand an existing platform, whether you need to refresh or grow in a different way. And the other things to consider when you're doing this is, what does your platform licensing look like that you're running these things on? As you don't want to over-license your platform and end up spending dollars you don't need to on licenses that aren't necessary. So there's a lot of things to consider when you're going through this. It can take a little bit of skill to interpret this and help you figure out what your runway is going to be if you are looking at purchasing new systems. Typically, this report's going to give you that lookout of 2 years, maybe a little bit more. And typically, when our customers are buying a hardware platform, you're looking at getting around 5 years of life out of it. We can certainly help customers out in figuring out what's that great middle ground and how am I going to get the best value for my spend on Epic equipment.
Yeah, so there's two huge factors that are really just directly opposed to each other when you're looking at these assessments and making these decisions, right? There's the technical aspect, like you mentioned, Tanner. There's processor, manufacturer, and families. Memory, which can be a cost driver when it comes to picking out your servers, the different versions of all those applications and the underlying infrastructure that supports them. And then, of course, you also mentioned storage, which is really a substantial investment, whether you're thinking about a complete refresh or growing it. And all of those really do come together and should come together in a real financial impact. And again, having come from the healthcare background, there's always financial constraints. There's never enough resources to get everything you want. And that's where I think a good partner like EchoStor can help. You've got Tanner and myself, as you mentioned, Carly, years of experience, and working with our healthcare customers on these technology and budgetary solutions is really what we do.
Awesome. Thanks so much for the insight, guys. This has been today's episode of the EchoStor Healthcare Heartbeat. Until next time.